to say that is a remarkably resilient photograph. It's seen some times.
A gun won't help you here. But it still has a role to play.
Make a decision and bring the... Okay, so again, it looks like more time, stroke, distance, location. So, we've got credits. So, where does that leave us, essentially, then? It's been kind of said endlessly that this, as a game, I mean, I suppose it's the Kojima style, really, to be kind of very, very narrow, but very, very deep, or I don't know, broad but shallow. I don't know, it's kind of cheesy but well intentioned or well meaning or something. I don't know, I mean, it is a very serious game, but at the same time kind of silly, and is it trying to be too clever for itself? And should I not have run into... Come on. Give me some cutscenes. So, the last sort of speeches, do they indicate that Amelie, if she just did her job, would have blown everything up? The fact that she got tired of waiting for what? I mean, she's an extinction entity, so therefore she should have extinctified. Okay, all right. We've got a floppening. Does
Quiet, and I'll tell you. There is no time for questions.
There's infinite time for questions.
When you were young, you used to have bad dreams. You cried about them all the time. The truth is, those weren't your dreams. They were mine. For as long as I can remember, I've dreamt of the beach. Not just while sleeping, in my waking hours, too. In my dreams, I watched the world end so many times. Countless past extinctions that decimated life on this planet. Again, and again, and again. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing or why. And that wasn't the worst of it. There were other, more terrible dreams. Dreams of death and destruction. Of a massive extinction to come. Like this one. And I would always be the one to end it all. To bring about the last stranding. As I have today.
Well, how long, if we chose to sit there, could we sit there indefinitely? Still got the gun. I think what strikes me most about this game is that whilst it's kind of built to have the gameplay in between the cutscenes, that's kind of the fun bit. The gameplay is in the bits in between the fundamentally silly cutscenes and story. The game is all this kind of running around in the environment and the mastery of the environment, both through vehicles and trucks and so on. And that's, as I've presented it, the bits that are kind of cut out for the gameplay, because they're sort of not really boring and not really interesting to watch.
The first operation, I was only 20. I opened my eyes and found myself on the beach. But the moment I came round, I was back in the hospital bed. I was split across two worlds. Bridget, my ha in that one. Amelie, my ka in this. Somehow, the two of us managed to coexist. Soon, our ages began to diverge. Only Bridget's body got older, while the beach kept Amelie's the same. So I came up with a story. I told people that Amelie was my daughter. A daughter with a debilitating condition and an absent father. Look. Amelie. Is French for soul. A soul that's a lie. There was no Amelie. Only me and the beach. I thought it was a curse in the beginning. But later, I started thinking, maybe I can use this. I tried to find out more about the beach. Because understanding the beach had to be the key to interpreting my visions of the future.
Well, again, just to interrupt myself and to carry on with other trains of thought, I know it's kind of clever to do the Amelie soul lie thing, but it doesn't really work when you kind of... Well, lie isn't French for lie. I don't happen to know what it is off the top of my head, and I didn't have time to look it up, but, you know, it's sort of silly conspiracy kind of Egyptians were space aliens kind of level stuff to mix pseudo conveniences, like this half of a word is French for this and the other half isn't, but that said, sorry, interrupted again, to criticize the game's attempt to be kind of deep and obtuse kind of misses the point. I mean, it's a Hideo Kojima game. It kind of comes with the territory, and you kind of take it as fun, really. It's supremely daft in its seriousness, but it's sort of serious in its daftness, if that makes sense, or is that just me trying to be Kojima-ish? Kojimarian.
I realized the beach was connected to the world of the dead, which meant that somewhere out beyond it were the memories of time itself, including those of every organism that had ever lived. 4.6 billion years of biological history, a history that might even stretch back to the creation of the universe. The chiral network and everything that followed was born from my pursuit of that knowledge. By passing data through the beach, we were unbound by the restrictions of time. Simulations that would have taken years or more were simple and effortless. Everything that the Earth had lost and forgotten could be reconstructed and reclaimed. But shortly after we began our research, America saw its first void out. I thought I was running out of time, that my nightmares were becoming a reality. So I raced to complete the chiral network as quickly as possible. The past held all the answers. If only I could find a way to piece them together. A network that bridged our world and the beach. That might do it, I believed. So I started researching bridge babies, children bound to the world of the dead. What causes an extinction entity to come into being? What was the reason for the previous 5 mass extinctions? The answers to those questions would tell me how to stop the 6th. I founded bridges, more determined than ever to build a chiral network that would cover all of America. But the longer I fought my war against the inevitable, the weaker I became. My Ha had cancer. The beach's punishment, maybe, for not playing along like a good little EE. And then, just like that, my Ha was gone. I couldn't finish what I'd started. So, I asked you to do it for me. And you did. You helped us complete the network. Helped us to reclaim everything the universe experienced from its inception to this moment. Every mystery was ours to solve. Like this one. Once, there was an explosion. A big bang that gave birth to time and space. Thing is, it was more like a big fluke. All that matter and antimatter should have canceled itself out, leaving nothing. But somehow a tiny speck of matter survived. Just enough. Enough to make this world and everything in it. A world that shouldn't be, a world out of balance. Order inevitably gives way to chaos. Everything that lives must inevitably die. It's like the universe is trying to return us to the nothing we came from. Maybe the Big Five were its best attempts to finish us off. But somehow, life always managed to survive just enough. Enough to thumb its nose at the will of the cosmos. You know, I'm starting to think that extinction might be the key to overcoming total annihilation. It forces life to fight to survive, to endure, to exist. That's why the Big Five ultimately rekindled life instead of extinguishing it. From the ashes of the dead rise the living. Stronger and wiser. Inheritors of the legacy of existence itself. They defy the universe and refuse to surrender. They say, we're just getting started. Extinction is an opportunity.
Well, again, so you devoted your efforts to trying to find what led the previous 5 extinctions so you could avoid the 6th, and your best opportunity was to build a network across one single continent that doesn't really... And what about the rest of the world, dude? It's fairly Americocentric. Sorry, don't know the proper phrase. To assume, I mean, it is like America is the world in this conceit. And I don't know, it's sort of ludicrously, oddly capitalist to say that extinction is an opportunity? I mean, it's not. It's not for those that are extinguished. Rather obviously. It's just how stuff goes. It's almost sort of inevitable. Maybe it's not. Oh.
pulled the trigger twice that day. I knew at once I'd made a mistake. I found your beach and looked everywhere for you. Sam. There you are. You want to go home? Let's go home. I wanted to set you free from death once and for all. It's okay. I know the way. But in doing so, I upset the fundamental balance between life and death. I just wanted to save you. I am an extinction entity. It's my fate to lead our species to extinction. But that moment, you became part of that fate. You became a repatriate, and dooms started spreading my nightmares to others throughout the world. It was me that got you and everyone with dooms into this. Not long after, the Death Stranding occurred. The dead clung to our world, and BTs used my beach to cross over and devour them, triggering more void outs. A catalyst that would set the world on a path to extinction. It was my duty to serve as a sacrifice, to wait and watch it unfold from this beach. That, or hasten the last stranding and end this slow death. Given these, my only options, I chose to end it quickly. But to trigger the last stranding, I needed you, a part of me. Here too. I would be able to witness extinction consummated with you by my side. But now that you're here, there's another choice. You can cut me off. An EE doesn't have that option for itself. But in my nightmares, I saw another future. One that you chose. One where extinction is hope against total annihilation.
So there remains the kind of sense that it's being obtuse for obtuse sake, and that feels a little, on one hand, unfair, and I suppose, well, the main benefit, if you like, of ambiguity is that it lends itself to endless or multiple and I suppose in this instance almost endless variety of interpretation. But just as I'm a man who likes a game that finishes, there is an appeal to a definitive kind of meaning. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, yes, it's complex, and that's kind of refreshing and rare, but it, again, we get back to that sort of idea that the complexity is stupid or silly, not because it's facile, but because it sort of presents itself as needlessly serious. And again, okay, so do we need to run around here to trigger anything, or just stand up here looking kind of deep? Let's try that. I mean, it is fundamentally daft to criticize a game for being silly or shallow, because it's a game. It's a false conceit. It's fundamentally a series of tricks. So it doesn't really matter if it's not realistic or conforming to expectations or norms or I mean, yeah, the point about expectations is that they are mine rather than those of the writer, or Kojima. So he's entitled to be as odd and weird and out there as he likes, because it's his vision, and that's we are, as players, guests in that, and nothing more. The song says, "I'll keep running," so who am I to start slowing to a jog? And again, with regards to the silliness, it doesn't really impact my enjoyment of the game. I know a lot of people absolutely hated it, and that's fine. It's their right to disagree. I mean, a lot of people hated Ground Zeroes too. But it's a sort of entirely different series of events. It's an entirely different structure, an entirely different set of conceits. There are people that played Ground Zeroes endlessly. Presumably, they still do. And I find this kind of repeated theme of exhaustion interesting too, because is that a metaphor or an expectation of the player's experience of the game? Okay, I'll get up and I'll run, but really, what's the point? Where am I going? There's just a big empty beach that I'm running around and not really getting anywhere and not achieving anything. So why don't I just give up and sit down? I will keep running, because the game allows me to. I know that's not a very compelling reason, but it's a reason.
A gun won't help you here, but it still has a role to play.
As button prompts go, reconnect with the living is quite compelling.
Listen, Sam. I was the one that brought you and Cliff together again. There was something I wanted you to know. You were never abandoned. And you're not alone. Don't you see, Sam? You have to live.
And by live, you mean run around? The London Bridge thing, obviously there's no literal purpose it serves, other than a kind of reminder of childhood. There's no London, there's no, well, obviously there's bridge. The guys have appeared in the sky, so we'll hop over there. Sprint doesn't work. Yes, I see.
I see him. This way. My God. He's over there. Over here, Sam. Sam! Dead man. Sam. We're coming, Sam. You ready for a job?
Ready. Sam, I see him.
Okay. Blue, take me to Sam.
Don't give up. You're still connected.